Welcome back, Guardians. In the words of the Cryptarch, I've neglected my work for too long. Let's talk speculation while it's still relevant, shall we? The next chapter in Destiny. I've covered this before with theories on the Vex and Cabal, but there's another race I neglected to mention, the Fallen. I did not go over them previously because I did not have enough hard evidence to support it. Even now, I am still skeptical about including them in this expansion race. However, there is enough soft evidence and coincidental evidence now, in my opinion, to speculate on the Fallen's potential in the next update. Before we continue, let me reiterate, this is speculative and has very little support compared to my previous arguments, and as such, I ask you to not take this one as cold, hard fact. This speculation is, more or less, a wild theory, and I do not like covering those because I cannot properly back them up under normal circumstances. As such, I do not want you to think I am all-knowing about this. Now that disclaimer's out of the way, let's talk Grimoire. After completing the quest line for the Wolves of Mars from barracks, you receive a Grimoire card, fittingly named the Wolves of Mars. It reads, please excuse my terrible barracks impression. Another prime destroyed, once sources of life, light, hope, now a sign of decay. Machines as gods, conspire with Kells, conspire to kill, to conquer, to control. This will not end. There will always be new Kell. There will always be new Prime, yes. Skolas was savage. Skolas was cruel. Skolas was right. Only Kell of Kells can end the slaughter. Only Kell of Kells can unite the houses. Petra has given House Judgment a great gift. Barracks now speaks for crows. Crows fly on black wings, find what House Judgment needs found. House Judgment and the Reef are allies. Petra is a friend. The crows will do as Petra needs, but they will also search for barracks, yes. They will find that which is lost. The crows will find the Kell of Kells. Then banners will rise as one, and Elixir will stand together forever. Skolas was right. The Kell of Kells is the only one that can unite the houses of the Fallen. How interesting to hear this from Barracks, the traitor to the House of Wolves, and the one who basically orchestrated his execution in the Prison of Elders. So, it raises the question, who is the real Kell of Kells? Two candidates immediately jump to mind, the first of which is Barracks himself. This one is the more speculative of the two, and makes sense from a story standpoint. To take a look at a similar case that has absolutely nothing to do with Destiny, I'm going to compare this speculation to, of all things, the DC Comics Blue Lantern Corps first member, St. Brodie Walker. In short summary, Walker was searching for someone to bring hope to his people. At the end of his journey, he finds himself alone, and swears he will find hope. At that moment, he receives a blue power ring and becomes the first Blue Lantern, and becomes the hope for his people. Kind of like what could happen to Barracks. Also, there's a Grimoire card where he and Petra have an exchange about how Barracks might kill the Kells, but that's mostly just her joking and not taking the legend seriously, but hey, it's there, so there's that. Now, what about the other candidate for the job? If you keep up with the Grimoire cards for the House of Wolves, then you can probably guess. The Kell of Kings. The Kell of a house we barely know anything about. When Skolas sent his Baron to declare the news that he was Kell of Kells, all we find are two Barons from the House of Kings. The House of Winter joined the Wolves quickly, but they had no Kell of their own and were, perhaps, desperate for someone to lead them. The Devils did not join them because the meeting with the Wolves was interrupted, though if it had not been interrupted, it is likely they would have joined for the same reason Winter did. No god, no Kell, no Archon. Yet when the Kell of Kells came to the kings, all that greeted him were 2 barons. To be fair, that is the most we have seen from the kings. When you get to them, they appear to be conversing, peacefully almost, beneath a hologram of the traveler. 2 houses, at crippling levels of structure, were ready to join the wolves and the Kell of Kells. But the kings, arguably the smallest of houses, merely send an envoy of 2 barons and a small guard. Where is the Kell of Kings? The Grimoire tells us he remains elusive, hiding. When 2 were ready to join, the 3rd did not when the Kell of Wolves took claim to the title of Kell of Kells. Why? 2 answers spring to mind. 1. The Kell of Kings thinks himself the Kell of Kells. Or 2. The Kell of Kings knows who the Kell of Kells really is. Somehow the second thought scares me more. I would rather have the enemy I barely know anything about instead of the enemy I know nothing about. Now that we've gone through the little hard evidence we have, let's look at some of the soft evidence we've got. There have been small hints from Bungie these past few weeks. In This Week at Bungie, March 3rd, 2016, Deej says, quote, "To point out the elephant in the room, and the salt in our chat window, we know we're on the hook to tell you more about the next things we'll do to infuse your PvE lifestyle with new challenges. Those shows are being planned too. Hang in there and we'll create some renewed urgency to discharge your favorite weapon in the direction of some aliens. They've got it coming. We've all got it coming." End quote. We've all got it coming, he says, in quotes, like the words are someone else's. Why that specific quote? You could apply that to every enemy race in the game, right? Enter the last bit of soft evidence we have, the choice of Guardian armor for the image header on This Week at Bungie, March 17th, 2016. Looks like a new shader to make your Guardian look like they've been taken. But look closely at that armor. It's gear from the Prison of Elders. Odd choice, isn't it? That armor hasn't been brought into Year 2, and has no Year 2 variant. So why? Perhaps a hint at new Prison of Elders gear, updated challenges, or, quite possibly, a hint at the return of the Fallen to the spotlight. As with all things of this nature, however, there is little evidence to support a solid answer. What little information we have is a new strike taking place on the moon, in the Hellmouth, featuring the Taken, and little else to go on. In previous expansions, there have usually been 1 or 2 strikes, one of which is a PlayStation 4 exclusive, alienating 3 of the 4 platforms people play on. Thanks, Bungie! You really know how to show you love your fans! 3 or 4 new missions, a few new exotics, some new weapons, some patrol-related activities, and a raid or raid tier activity. So, what can we expect from this? Let's do some quick math. Destiny released on September 15th, 2014. On December 9th, we got The Dark Below. The House of Wolves released May 19th, 2015, and The Taken King released exactly 1 year after Destiny initially released. The Dark Below had a development cycle of 85 days. The House of Wolves had 162 days, almost twice as much as The Dark Below, and we can assume safely that the Taken King expansion had 364 days of development. In case I'm wrong, however, the time between House of Wolves and the Taken King was 119 days. That number does not seem feasible with the amount of content the Taken King brought versus the amount of time the House of Wolves had, and therefore should have had more time to be developed. So, how long has it been since the Taken King released, and how long has this new update had? The update will launch April 12th, 2016. The Taken King released September 15th, 2015. Crunch those numbers and you get a whopping 210 days, including a leap year's extra February day, with a whole 48 days extra compared to the House of Wolves. What does this mean? This update will have, supposedly, more content than the House of Wolves, but probably less than the Taken King. What does that mean? I have only speculation, and while the only information we have other than the vague info is a strike, again, taking place on the moon, in the Hellmouth, featuring Taken. That's all I've got to go on for the time being, though this may be an outlying strike rather than a centralized one, similar to the Dust Palace and the Undying Mind, which were PlayStation 4 exclusives. Stop doing this, Bungie! Seriously, it's not cool. The next few days will tell us what we need to know. Hello, thanks for watching this video. Check out some of my other stuff. This one here is about the Cabal and the Vex being the next expansion's main enemy instead of the Fallen. Need to brush up on your basics? I've read through some of the Grimoire cards here. Want to keep up to date on my channel? Subscribe. Want to help this channel grow? Share it with your friends on social media. Let's see if we can break the previous record of now 30,000 views. Wow, okay, let's be realistic and set that bar to 1,000. Seems way more doable right now. Until then, I will see you on the frontier.